What is better halakhically? A mixture with a little bit of non-kosher brandy, or a mixture with a tiny amount of snake venom and even snake? This, of course, sounds like a completely bizarre question, but here's a question I got from a rabbi in Berkeley. There was a woman who was pregnant in her third trimester, and she had low platelets. And her midwife recommended one of two ways to treat this. One would be a certain type of a mixture of various liquids and juices that was made for this. And on the ingredient list was brandy, way at the bottom. Still, the assumption would be, since it was on the list, it was more than 1 in 60. Now, brandy is not kosher without a hechsher, because brandy is fermented wine. So the same way wine is rabbinically prohibited of non-Jews, brandy as well. So there you had a rabbinic prohibition that was not batel. In the case of the snake, you're starting with a biblical prohibition. Snakes are biblically prohibited. Snake venom comes from snakes, biblically prohibited. But it was such a minuscule amount that it was definitely batel. So it would seem clearly you should take the second option. However, Rav Moshe Feinstein actually says that when it comes to brandy, when it comes to wine, it is batel not in 1 in 60, but in 1 in 6. So according to Rav Moshe Feinstein, it would totally be batel. He relies on a Taz. Obviously, there are those who would disagree. But according to Rav Moshe Feinstein, you have a rabbinic prohibition that is batel better than a biblical one. The biblical one, however, what we can add is that not only is it batel, it's almost definitely notein tam lifgam, would make the taste worse. I think we can assume that. And I would not discount it because it's homeopathic. There is a discussion in halacha what constitutes a recognized remedy. Baduk u'menusa, does it have to be tested and checked? But certainly for something that already is batel, I do not feel that that would factor in, and that is a legitimate choice. So at some level, you can say they're equivalent. However, again, one is rabbinic, the other is biblical. You could say if it's batel, it's all the same, it doesn't matter. But my inclination would certainly be to advise the rabbinic, but if that doesn't work, the other would be completely acceptable. It is batel as well. And I should mention that not just the idea of biblical, but there's an approach that believes that any ingestion of non-kosher foods, but again, biblically non-kosher foods, has some impact on the soul. So there's a question how much you factor that in halakhically, but still there would be a clear preference to the wine. All of this does not account for the fact that this woman is clearly in the category of a cholah. Let's assume it's not pikuach nefesh for her or child. Obviously, that would change everything. But somebody who is sick, there are definitely opinions that you can ingest something that is rabbinically prohibited, even if it is not batel. So totally it would be permissible. Both of them are batel, and yet I would advise doing the wine because it's only rabbinic and certainly makes that the better choice.